Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, July 13th. We'll call to order at 6:34 p.m. We're going to begin with a joint meeting of Capital Planning Committee and the Select Board. And first item of business is going to be review and potential vote on the wheeled excavator procurement. Mr. McCrory, come on up.
Evening, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. So, the wheeled excavator has led us into a few more meetings. From the time that we got the quotes, presented you all the quotes, annual town meeting, went to okay it, let's order this thing. The revised quote came back over budget. What had happened is the 0% program dropped off. Unfortunately, we didn't get notified. I don't even know if the salesperson really knew about it until we went to submit to get this lease going. So before presenting it to the board, I went back and forth with the dealership probably 3 or 4 times to get this under budget, under the purchase price budget and under the lease payment budget that was approved at town meeting. What that did, it left a shortfall of either the jawbone bucket, the digging bucket, or the mower and the asphalt cutter. Any which way of one of these was not going to sell this piece of equipment as I presented to you all. It was presented to the voters. So I opted out to leave the expensive bucket out, put a standard digging bucket in. We would have the mower, we would have the digging bucket, we'd have the asphalt cutter, we had everything. And it brought it in under budget. So when that was presented, so what happened with the 0%, after that went away, it went to a blended rate. So each attachment is a different vendor. They had a different interest rate. So the way it was explained to us was the blended rate was actually a lower percentage rate than if they just went to each individual vendor. That's why I got down to the 2.9 blended rate. So the board had a few questions on it, wanted some more things answered on how they got to that blended rate and what could be done. So we went back and forth, and then so we had the original quote, which came in at $52,000 and change a year. I believe what we were approved was $49,240 or $420, somewhere in that area. So then they said, well, what's the plan? I said, well, the plan is to go to capital in the fall time for the jawbone bucket, the digging bucket, but in the meantime, we can buy this less expensive bucket, be under budget. They said, but that's not what you asked for with capital, that's not what you asked for with us on finance committee. So they asked if I'd be willing for a joint meeting with you all to come back and see how you want to handle it. At the last meeting, we have a revolving account, special appropriations account that gets $50,000 to put into each year for highway road work, maintenance, improvement. So I'd asked if we could just spend the money out of that to buy this bucket separately, keep the lease all under budget where it's supposed to be legally from the town meeting vote. And that's where you all come into play to see if you would like that to happen. I know it's a lot. So I believe you have 2 different proposals in front of you, one that's marked June 16th and one that's marked June 2nd, correct? When you get to it, the one that's marked June 2nd has everything but the mower and the asphalt cutter in it that would have to be purchased separately for $10, $11, $12, just under $13,000. But the rest of the equipment is under budget, under the lease payment budget.
This is the June 2nd one.
But part of this was so you guys could do fall time mowing, correct?
Correct.
So if we did purchase that separately, what does the lead time and such look like for that?
No different than if it's changed into the lease and we buy the bucket separately.
Okay.
The only difference with buying the bucket separately, the bucket's like $20,000.
Okay.
Okay. And then I
So
assume.
none of the lead times change on when we do this.
Yep.
Now to what is left out for the lease and what is for a purchase.
Okay, and the June 16, if I'm reading this correctly, is everything with it being over our budget.
Correct, by about $3,000-ish. Yes.
Okay.
This is the June 16th.
So if you would be looking for a recommendation off any of these, it would be off the June 2nd one.
Okay.
And to be able to allow us to purchase it out of that other account.
Okay. Is that other account, and I don't know if this is a Brian question or a you question, I know sometimes accounts have very specific uses, so is this account acceptable to be used for this use?
So this is the account that we use for roadway improvements.
Yep.
So it's anything related to some materials or equipment related to the roadway improvements.
Okay.
It's broad enough.
Selectman Loyne had asked that question too at the last meeting.
Okay.
And that is not earmarked yet,
Correct.
the money in the account.
Correct.
So if you have your crystal ball out, do you feel that you would need that money for anything coming up?
No, the 13 grand, I wouldn't think so at this point, no.
Okay.
We bring back bigger projects than 13,000.
I know.
No, and especially if it would help to get this going, because as of right now, we're going to be late fall
Okay.
for mowing anyways.
But there's enough money to order it without the additional digging bucket right now, right? So
Yes, through this lease program on
Yeah.
the June 2nd one.
Okay.
Yes, that falls in under the town meeting.
So can't we just order that right now anyway?
Oh, you're saying without the bucket?
Well, if it's coming from two different funding sources, then does it really matter when each one is ordered?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when each one was ordered. We think Jake had asked for a joint meeting, so it could say which way you wanted to go with what to purchase to keep this lease payment working. Whether it was a $20,000 bucket or the $13,000 mower head and the asphalt cutter.
And I don't know if you have it in front of you, but there was a scenario where it was a fixed bucket that was inexpensive enough to fit it in the quote, but then we'd be buying the job on bucket again later.
Yeah.
And so that didn't make sense to the board to necessarily spend the money twice for something we won't use again once we get the right part. Because it's just a small
Okay.
fixed bucket instead of the job on style, so it's, maybe it was 2,000 or 3,000, so it got the whole thing under with a bucket still included. But
Okay.
then
And the
we're throwing that
usable
away to go buy it again in a year probably, right, or less.
So for the smaller bucket, we're at what we've approved already, but with the bucket that he really would like and would be more functional, that puts us over.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
And that was the original bucket, but now with the interest, we don't have the funds.
Right.
So I think, if I recall correctly, the board was in favor of trying to, move this scenario forward, which maxes as much of the appropriation as we can, and then a small amount out of the other fund to still complete the purchase and full amount of equipment that was originally planned.
The June 2nd one
Correct.
scenario. Okay.
Correct. So basically, the non-yellow highlighted, I think he already said that, but would come out of the separate appropriation, and the yellow highlighted would be in the lease.
Okay.
So we put
So,
50,000 away for the original appropriation
yeah, per year.
per year.
Slightly less,
5 years.
yeah,
Or
around
25.
there.
Yeah.
Yes,
And we take what the cost is going to be out of your fund for this year.
Correct.
That means we don't have that money for that fund if you need it going forward. So what about the 50,000 that was originally allocated for it? Could that money be used for any issues that?
No, because that 50,000 goes towards the 5-year leases.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So
So
we're just going to be 50,000 above on the?
No, so we're gonna be 13,000 less out of this, out of the one
50,
special
okay.
appropriation.
So
That
37.
appropriation has nothing to do with the lease payment.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out how the two work together, because, okay, just trying to figure it out.
So there's
the
a separate
50
line item, just like we did for the loader.
Yeah.
So Deb sets up a separate line. That money goes in there each year, for that lease payment.
Yep.
This year will be a one-time out of the special appropriation for this 13,000 to buy the mower and the asphalt cutter.
And the 50 that was put away, we're using 13.
Correct.
So what about the 37?
No,
No.
I think you're mixing it up.
There's
with-
50 for the appropriation that we did from capital.
Yeah.
So that'll make the first lease payment in FY '27. Glenn has the special $50,000 fund.
Yep.
So from his fund that's under the highway department, he's going to take the 13, and then he'll have 37,000 left in that.
Okay, I had that backwards.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Can we tell them because of all the confusion they can politely waive their dock fee?
I already did. I already asked. I asked to waive a lot of things, but
I bet you did. I mean, if it gets it done, it gets it here, and Glenn's confident that the 13,000 isn't going to hurt coming out of that account. I don't see a problem with it.
I don't either.
I'd be for
Okay. Want to make a motion to move forward with the split funding, just to make it formal? Or I guess I just did.
Then I'll second if that's your motion.
Sure. Motion to move forward with the June 2nd proposal, the yellow items under the lease being paid for with the lease funding that was approved at town meeting, and the non-highlighted items totaling approximately $13,000 plus or minus being covered out of the other highway appropriation for roads and other such needs.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay.
thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you
Do
did.
we need to
on this.
authorize a signer or anything
We're gonna have to sign into the lease.
once we get the document? Or,
I think
Can
it's
we
gonna
authorize
just
it
come
now?
as part of this purchase.
okay.
So yeah,
Oh.
if you want to authorize a signatory.
Further make a motion that we authorize Town Administrator Brian Smith, signatory on all necessary documents related to said lease and purchase.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank
Brian,
you.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow. Have him send it over
Perfect.
to you and I both, and they get the ball rolling.
Perfect. We can do it
Perfect.
tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
okay.
Second item is relative to the Erving Center wastewater treatment plant clarifier project. So we walked it, we got quotes on it during the capital process, and became aware, I don't know, barely 2 weeks ago now. It wasn't too long ago, that there is an SRF loan fund cycle open right now that we may be eligible to get funding for that project at a low interest rate and some forgivability,
Right.
it seems as well, and we happen to be in like the most advantageous tier for a variety of reasons, but it's not usually where we land. So we did not have enough time and bandwidth internally to apply. So we asked Pete to go reach out to Ty and Bond and see if they would be available to do it and what that cost would be. And so he did that. They got back to us very quickly. I think the due date on that is like 7/24 or something.
Correct. It's
Just
10
just
days.
a few
from now.
weeks out. And they said they could do it for a small fee, relatively small fee. And Pete said that we had the funding within his account to cover it. So we gave the go-ahead to engage them and get that done. So hopefully we can be lucky enough to get selected. I know there's usually more people who are interested in that funding than it is available, but it's at least a start down that path. And we had identified that in the capital projects as a borrowing anyway. So
Perfect.
it's kind of an update on that. That was unexpected and sudden. So
So I see that the application date is July 24th. When would we expect to hear whether we've been successfully?
January sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
It's a long review process.
Okay.
So probably middle of budget season we'll hear
Okay.
for sure. In the meantime, we should have a conversation about whether or not you want to engage Time Bond to do some of the design work, so that you at least have bid documents started, or if you'd rather wait until we hear formally this winter about our application. But we can, whenever you all want to meet again, we can bring those documents to you, and you can see the different tasks and the estimated schedule for each to make a decision.
it would be good to firm up when we'll hear back, because they have the matching appropriation June 30, 27. So we would need to know total cost by then, and probably at least some further preliminary work beyond what we already did. And we have to have bid docs or bid plans and specs by October if we have been accepted into it at that point.
Right.
Of 27, not 26. So we may have a small window between finding out and needing to like have all the numbers and specs in place to go to a town meeting with.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if it's not awarded till January and they want that kind of stuff ready by June and October, that feels very short.
That's why I was wondering if we may choose to do just a discrete task like preliminary design.
Okay.
As the chairman noted, you already have your borrowing authority from town meeting, and that would align with this. At this moment, we're not anticipating any additional appropriations being necessary, but until we really get into the design and get that firm opinion of probable cost, there are some factors that could shift.
Okay. If we were not, say this program is not available, what do the steps look like to borrow in general for a program like this? Like, would we need to have those types of documents done and ready?
For a traditional loan,
Yeah, if we were just gonna,
Yeah, they're going to want to make sure that we've got a firm opinion of a probable cost. We don't have to go out to bid yet. It can
Yeah.
still be preliminary, but something more than a general ballpark.
okay,
And the process to go through the borrowing with our traditional financial advisor, it's likely several months. We maintain a current bond rating and your current debt service. I'm not sure that we would have to update and go back through that process, but that alone took a month and a half the last time. So there's some of those pieces that we'd have to evaluate.
okay.
however, if I recall, we didn't actually start that process until well into the project, because we didn't really we were well past like documents and stuff by the time we engaged on a loan itself.
So
Correct?
we were, I think, if my recollection is correct, about 2 years into the project when we finally were solidifying the loan. And I think we, in the initial phase of the fiscal year, we were floating the expenses.
Right.
And by the spring, the treasurer's office was issuing short-term notes. And it was several months later that it was finally finalized into one final borrowing schedule. So yes, there's different phases of it.
But the SRF program is just much more front loaded than if we were doing a traditional loan
Okay.
And that's the competitiveness of it.
historically.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, I see like a 2028 loan finalization, I think, on that, if I read that right. Well, I guess it was an application at the end of 27 and then like a contract by June 30. I think we were already past that or well into that when we were getting the loan last time. So this is just going to accelerate the loan portion because it's got the program tied to it by a year or better, probably. We should also find out if we do some of that preliminary work, whether it's ineligible or not.
That's absolutely.
Because it's an SRF. I know it's a loan, but they're going to have stipulations.
Yep.
So we know if we have to front that out
Can
of
you
pocket.
say that part again?
Knowing the timeline is so tight, and we may incur costs with tie and bond prior. While we, you know, we have to figure out if we have to front that out of pocket. So we know if we have to front that out of pocket. Knowing the timeline is so tight, and we may incur costs with tie and bond prior. While we, you know, we have to figure out if we have to front that out of pocket. So we know if we have to front that out of pocket. While we, prior to knowing even if we're accepted, are those costs eligible
Okay.
in the loan
Yeah.
if we did them prior to finding out?
Okay.
Like grants, sometimes it's not. I don't know if SRF is this.
It's usually the effective date of the contract and
Yeah.
forward.
Mm.
Rarely have I seen where they'll retrospectively go back and cover a participating cost that was incurred beforehand, but
Well,
You can
given they're
certainly ask.
requiring all the costs before the loan application even applies in October, it
Yeah.
may be a little different because it's a loan versus a grant, a true grant.
but let me ask.
Okay.
I think that was it. I feel like there's a lot of things going on financially, so I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel like there's more, but I think from a capital standpoint, that was the bulk of it. Unless I'm missing something else that we had for updates. I don't think so.
Nope.
I'll have some cleanup to figure out tomorrow with Finance Committee on the overall operating budget for 26. But that should be it for capital.
Are you sending us a packet ahead of time for tomorrow's meeting?
Been drafting it and going through the books today. We have the draft over with the town accountant, so we can send you what we have. It's subject to update tomorrow
Okay.
when she reviews everything again.
Okay.
But yes, we'll send that tonight.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, unless capital has anything for us, make a motion to adjourn the joint meeting, continue the select board meeting at 6:55 p.m.
Second.
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 Very excited group tonight. All those in
We're the ones out
favor?
here.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm almost finished my book.
Thank you.
You sound like me.
Thank you all for joining. Review and potential vote on the Senior and Community Center flooring replacement procurement. Thomas, come on up. Welcome. So last meeting, we couldn't do this because we needed another quote,
Right.
actual numbers, and you have convinced them otherwise.
No convincing.
Explained where we were.
Yeah, so we reached out to the contract manager for OSD for this particular procurement and explained the process that we went through over several months and the timeline. The response I got from the representative who's overseeing this contract saying that because the town appears to have done this due diligence to try to meet the letter of the contract, that they encourage us obviously to keep all documentation in our procurement file, but under the circumstances, if you all felt it was in the best interest of the town, that we could proceed with the one quote that you received.
So I guess first, do we think it's in the best interest?
So I have no concerns, so.
Neither do I. I
I
think that we should.
voiced all the concerns we
proceed.
had at our last meeting. so,
Yes. And the director
Which
was
we're about
eager.
getting it done, not
Right.
not it not being a reasonable proposal, right?
The director saw your commentary during the meeting
Yeah.
and is eager to sit down with us and the vendor to work to address exactly those concerns. And then the chairman's hand is the sample book. If anybody wants to take a look at it, I've sort of highlighted the material that they've selected that they'd like to put in.
And this is the actual thickness and grade that we're using is the thickest one, right? The 520,
Yes.
The 20, yes.
5 millimeter, 20 mil,
Yep.
in the same color, but it's
Correct.
a better strip of it. So it's this strip and this.
Yeah, you
thickness.
could order any one of those in
In
that
any
same
one of
thickness,
those?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. So it's
This one here?
that one there, and it's in this thickness.
I believe it comes in 4-foot lengths.
Yeah. I
That
think
sound right?
that's what it was. Yeah.
Plank?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so not square. We're gonna
No.
have nice.
Correct. And
I
there's
think
a
that'll look nice. It's
there
down
are
there, actually in the picture.
some
too.
costs that we asked them to carry because we have the situation where it's curling. There's a couple theories as to
floor.
what's causing that, but to be sure, we've asked them to test the slab before they proceed. So there's some testing costs that's being carried in that estimate, or the quote, excuse me, to address that moisture concern that we don't want to carry on if there is an issue. So
So my only other concern or question I would have about the flooring is eventually you're gonna wanna move into the other areas of the center to do those floors as well?
Potentially.
Well, there's a potential.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've crossed that bridge yet.
The other
But I
floors
will-
aren't
Yeah, they're not
showing the damage.
popping up like this
Oh,
one.
okay,
So
okay.
the other ones are still usable without
still
any
usable?
trip hazards. And
Oh, okay.
Correct.
All right. My only concern was, would that it be consistent, that the flooring be consistent throughout as to if we should have to move into other areas to
Okay.
do it, that
Oh.
we stay uniform in how it looks,
That makes sense.
not do mismatched floors throughout.
Agreed. Agreed.
It'd be worth asking the vendor, just, is that a style and, do they change very often or is it consistent? Do they
Right.
usually keep them for a long time?
Fair enough.
Just
yeah,
to
I
know.
can reach out to Spartan.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that.
Okay.
Okay.
And I didn't clarify in the memo, but because we're focusing on this room, we did all the cubbies around and into the storage closet. So everything off of this room will be continuous.
Okay.
The kitchen is not the same?
It's an epoxy,
Yeah, okay.
so the kitchen will stay
Like a
that.
sealed floor, yeah.
Correct.
All right. And I know they carried testing, but actually their quote had moisture mitigation, not just, well, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm rereading it. I missed that word. Got it.
We also worked with Spartan's the manufacturer for the tile,
Okay.
and we spoke to them specifically, and they have a very specific adhesive that should be used with their material.
Okay.
So that's been specified as well. That's
Yeah,
An
they
expectation.
specified manufacturer's specs.
Yep.
So,
Yep, I did see that. Okay. I don't have any concerns then, do you?
I have no concern. Make a motion?
Sure.
I make a motion, we enter into a contract for, with Atkins Carpet and Flooring, 11 Rogers Road, Haverhill, Massachusetts, for a senior center flooring project in the amount of $24,499.57. Who's going, Brian?
Sure,
who's signing?
I can issue the purchase if you'd like.
And that Brian Smith, Administrative Coordinator, sign all necessary documents related to the contract.
I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Thomas.
you. A review of meeting minutes from June 29th and June 30th.
Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes of Monday, June 29th, 2026 as written.
I will second. Any discussion?
None?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes of Tuesday, June 30th, 2026 as written.
Second. Any discussion?
None?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're going to pass over the review and potential vote on the FY 2026 financial transfer requests. We have the joint meeting tomorrow with Finance, so we'll discuss them further there. It looks like we got some work to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Discussion regarding the treasurer's position.
So, do you want
I can introduce
Okay.
it. Okay. So I'm back in front of the board to ask for some clarification as to the intentions of the board when it comes to the treasurer's position. We've been working on the search for the last month. The screening committee has reviewed several application submissions and conducted interviews. At this time, the committee has not identified candidates to move forward as finalists to the select board. So before we begin a second round of advertising, I've been asked to get some clarification, and my understanding of the questions, and obviously Selectman Bembury serves as the chair of that committee, so he can speak to it in much greater detail. But the questions have to do with the expectations of the select board with office hours, either in person or remote, and availability to the staff, and to work with other department heads at financial institutions. I think that was one of the largest umbrella questions, because it sort of then leads into what days of work they would be expected to be here, what type of office hours you want to maintain and advertise to the public and the staff. And if it was more of a remote operation, I have raised the concern that we don't currently have all of the platforms of security in place to conduct sensitive HR information on a remote basis. And that would obviously have to be identified and planned for and prepared in advance and tested. So I think that's the large sort of issue.
Yeah, so the committee was split. It was a 5-member committee, and actually there were 2 members who wanted to look at a remote situation and saw some value in it, and pretty much there were three members who were either halfway there or weren't there at all.
Okay.
My general consensus to the committee was that in the 40 years that I've been in Irving, we've spent literally 40 years trying to change the elected position of treasurer, and unsuccessfully, and allowing us, the town, to have some control over that position as well. And to me, it didn't, having changed it to an appointed position after 40 years, to me it didn't make sense that the town would approve the acceptance of a treasurer who essentially would not be there, would be working from home or from wherever that is, de facto. And so that was my concern, and I voiced that, and but the committee still wanted that brought to the board's attention.
Okay. I'm maybe in the middle. I don't think it could be full remote. I think that's something that we, from experience, would think would not serve the needs fully, or significantly. So I think we'd have some gaps there for sure. On the other hand, I don't know that I'm opposed to a hybrid solution on some basis. And I think that largely, partly is on how many hours and how many days a week are they working, and what's the office hours look like with the totality of the treasurer's office staffing and overlap and, availability. So I think those are things that I would want to define better. What we want to have for office hours, and then how would we get there with a hybrid solution if that's what was necessary potentially to get the right candidate. But I would say I think it's 2 parts. One is open to hybrid, but it's depends. It's not guaranteed. It's not set. More of something that might be negotiated with the right candidate. And then I think the onus is on us to set what are the expectations more clearly for that office. Are we expecting it to be open and available half days, 3 days a week, 4 days a week when town hall's open during all open hours? There's been a lot of variation and deviation from what it used to be pre-COVID. We've also changed town hall hours since then, so I think we need to, as a board, maybe when Jackie's here next meeting, we could discuss, or after tomorrow, further detail on what does that look like, both hours for the different offices, to define that. And then is this the right amount of hours if that's the expectation for the position too, right? Because we have it 25 to 30 in the 30 or 35 in the profile here.
Yeah, 25 to 30.
To 30. And we have the ability to go higher if there's a need. And so I guess the other thing is, what do we have for? So I guess that's my thoughts to it. Is I'm open to hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you are. I think it would be less than half time a remote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if it's 3 days a week, I could see maybe one
Right.
day a week,
Right.
and probably fixed schedule, not flexible most of the time, because we need to be able to rely on it.
Right.
And then the other question I guess I would have, if you're open to that as well, or we can bring it for the full board to discuss too. You know, if we're not comfortable on aligning on a decision yet, is what do we think would potentially improve the pool? Is it moving to 40 hours? What is the gap today? I know there are things that are not or have not been at the level that we expect from a maintenance and from, you know, proactively working on financials and different policies and other things that we want done that just haven't been on the list in recent years. And how much time does that add? And is it only for a short period of time, or is
Right.
it sustained, right?
Right.
And I know that nothing gets less complex
Right.
as time goes, right? So I guess those are my questions on, and I don't know that the committee necessarily has the answer, so I'm not looking to you for that answer on what's going to make it more appealing to a pool.
Right.
But I don't know, Brian, if you have thoughts as well, or
So
if you want
I-
to talk about the hybrid first.
Yeah, I just, on the hybrid, I think I stated to the committee that I was not opposed to the hybrid discussion at a later point. And that's how I voiced it and termed it, that the position was first a in-house position, and as that position evolved and it began working as a group with the other departments, if there was a need for hybrid, I felt that was an area we could go to. But my initial feeling was that was not what we were initially looking for. But I'm open to it, and will be open to it. I just don't feel that it would have to be, for me, it would have to be a combination of hybrid and in the office. It couldn't be a total hybrid.
Total remote, you mean?
Right,
Yeah.
total remote
I absolutely
function.
agree.
So, and then the other concern is, how does that affect the one employee who's doing 90% of the work, who's in the office?
Well, I think the onus is on us if we've hired an appointed treasurer to do at least 25 to 30 hours,
Right.
a majority of it in the office, to make sure that that isn't a 90-10 split. That's not the role, right? That's not. It's not elected, so it's not up to their discretion on how much work they do or don't do. It's our expectations that there's that much work being done, and that work product comes from the team, right? So I think we own that, making sure that happens.
Right.
I think comparing it to anything that we've had when it's elected isn't a apples to apples, so it's hard to,
Sure.
that's not the same as setting an expectation for a department head that works for us. And
Right.
so that would be my expectation, was that it is something that I agree with you in terms of early on. I think there maybe needs to be a period where it's full in office while they get up to speed anyway,
Mhm.
before we would consider moving to hybrid. But I'm open to some discussion, depending on the candidate, the right candidate.
Right.
So that
I-
sounds like it's
I
similar
think
where you are.
I think that's similar to where I am.
Okay.
Right.
Does that answer your question enough for advertising?
I mean, that's where I
Yes and no.
thought we were to begin with, and so
Okay.
I think the questions still exist, and maybe the posting or the advertisement needs to be clearer about some of these aspects, and so maybe I can review that language and try to impress upon any potential candidates about that openness in the future to review or to consider. I think the hours remain a challenge. I know that we've had differing opinions from different folks involved with the office share their thoughts on how many hours it should be, and I think that led you all to recommend the initial advertisement was 25 to 30 hours, and I think that vagueness isn't helping in terms of the recruitment. So I guess if we're going to continue to have it be part-time benefited, it'd be better for the board just to say what the hours are as opposed to a range of hours. So if it is 25, I think we should be clear about that, or if it is 30, we should be clear about that.
Well, and I look at it as two parts. There's what we've known and the way things have operated or
Right.
varied and changed over your 40 years around it and my 12 or so, and seeing a variety of different ways of approaching it. That's one element of like what's the workload and what's needed. The other half to me is what is our expectation and how does that change from what has been done, and how may that affect the hours,
Right.
potentially to increase or decrease. But I think overall this already kind of starts somewhere at the high end of where we were before, so
Right.
or where we assumed or anticipated an elected official would work. So I guess I go back to that question. I know there are things that, from a project standpoint, from continuing financial prudence and policies and things, that we haven't necessarily completed or stayed on top of.
Agreed.
And I'm looking to you because you're going to be closer to it than we are, I think.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
knowing that, what is your opinion on whether or not that could go up or stay where it is in hours or set?
I think it's at minimum 30 hours. I believe I've tried to communicate that in the past. And I think you just touched upon an area that the department would benefit from working through draft policies, bringing them to you all, bringing them to FinCom, getting them in good order, meeting with our financial institutions and their advisors. I think there's a fair amount of work to be done in that space. Not because we have issues today, but because you want to capture good practice and you also want to consider other best practices that we can incorporate into our work to be better. So easily, it's 30 hours.
Okay.
I do think one thing that I expect of all of your department heads, and I know that this is a transition year, but I would expect of this individual is that they are going to be available to attend select board meetings and or FinCom
Absolutely.
meetings with some regularity to talk about the finances of the town. So that wasn't necessarily an expectation when it was an elected position, and so that has to be accounted for as well.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think that's something that I don't know that happened much at all and probably should happen regularly.
Right.
I mean, to me, that lends to going higher than 30 potentially. I know like OPEB and there's other things that we just haven't needed or haven't realized we needed and need to be developed.
Right.
There's been some conversations, I feel like, over the last couple of years as we've become a little more limited in our resources and had what for Erving our tougher conversation, not maybe for our peers. And that has lent to some questions about the policies and should we be changing some of them and keeping them up to date and modifying them. So I do wonder if that all adds up to some additional work needed on a regular basis to keep things current. You're advising we don't do a range though,
I would
based on
absolutely
your
not to.
feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's really tricky to try to entice a potential candidate to imagine themselves in the role if it feels
Unsure.
fluid as to when they may or may not work and who makes that decision between is it the lower range or the higher range. I think we were hoping that the flexibility would show that we could work with the ideal candidate, but I don't know that that's how we're receiving candidates at this time.
Okay. Where's your thoughts on that, Bill?
So I have no concerns with, I don't know clearly that it's a 40-hour position, but I have no concerns going to a 35-hour position
Okay.
with full benefits. And full benefits. It's a full benefited package to begin with. So I don't see much difference between working 40 or 35.
Sure.
I mean, if you're there, you're still putting in the time and the hours. So I would suspect that, at least I think, if I was looking at that position, 5 hours less would not bother me
Right.
at all. It would not deter me from applying for that position. So
Right. Okay. I'm in the same place. I think 35
Okay.
is reasonable,
Yep.
and then I feel like we'll have some time to evaluate if it needs to go up from there. We can
Right.
always have those conversations, right? So, I think that's reasonable.
Do you want any language clarified about expected office hours or mandatory days that the office must be staffed? As you know, typically Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays have been the sort of advertised or the traditional days that the office is open.
I'm inclined to not make that decision yet,
Okay.
but to say that I think it's an in-office position. There may be some flexibility to move to a somewhat hybrid model in in the future, but that would be determined with the select board at a future date once they have kind of gotten up to speed and are onboarded, and we determine its viability. And if we need to be clearer than that, no more than 25%
Yeah.
remote. Does that give you sufficient?
Yes.
Okay. That works?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we covered hybrid, fixed hours.
Okay.
Is there anything else that we can do to make that more?
These are
At the moment?
I think these are the bigger items.
Okay. And we're going to put another round out and see
Yep.
how it goes.
We'll begin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I do the treasury warrant stuff, question for you.
Yep.
So our hearing was scheduled for 7:15. It seems at this time that neither party has appeared.
Okay.
Would you like me to check outside just in case?
I believe it's been done.
Okay.
But we can have one of them
worth- it's
just
worth
confirm.
checking,
Yeah,
yes.
we'll confirm. Before obviously have not started it yet, but I was just wondering because we could do the treasury warrant, wait a few more minutes. If neither appear, kind of what is the board's options from here? We like open and dismiss, open and continue.
It's up to you. The hearing was the parties were both notified of the continued hearing date, and town administrator can confirm the language in the hearing notices explained what the consequences might be for non-attendance. So the board can take that into consideration. I would, the board could either continue the hearing again and re-notify, or could proceed with the hearing tonight and make a determination based on the evidence that's presented.
Okay. Well, I guess based on that, we'll wait for confirmation on whether or not any party is here in a moment, and we'll take care of the treasury warrants and then go into the hearing. Okay. We've covered all other items, right?
Yeah.
All right. So review and approval of treasury warrants.
I did amend your memo
Yeah.
this morning.
Our documents. Thank you, sir.
What do you say?
No parties here
Okay.
currently. All right, so we have, make a motion to approve the 28th accounts payable warrant for fiscal year 2026 in the aggregate amount of $235,987.85 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll make a motion to approve the 29th accounts payable warrant for fiscal year 2026 in the aggregate amount of $369,811.59 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve the first accounts payable warrant for fiscal year 2027 in the aggregate amount of $1,229,619 and 61 cents as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then I'll
And then payroll.
make a motion on, did I get, no, I didn't get that one yet. And this is split as well, right? We have one and one?
There should be a.
Yep, I got it.
Okay, perfect. Did you get
The
that?
headers are wrong. No, the headers are carryover.
Got
They
it.
haven't been modified yet.
Okay.
That's fine though. Make a motion to approve the first payroll warrant of fiscal 2027 in the aggregate amount of $239,778.62.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve the first payroll benefits warrant for fiscal 2027 in the aggregate amount of $39,136.30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Since I started, finish signing this one, and then we'll get the hearing underway. Finish this later. Okay, with that, it is 7:25 p.m. So it being 7:25 p.m. pursuant to provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 157, and the Town Bylaws, I'm opening a public hearing concerning a possible violation of General Laws, Chapter 140, and Section 121 of the Town Bylaws regarding a Blue Heeler Pit Bull Mixed Dog named Jules, owned by Crystal Brow at 65 French King Highway, Apartment 32 in Erving, Massachusetts. Crystal Brow was notified of this hearing with a notice sent certified and first class mail on July 1st, 2026, and served in hand by the Sheriff's Office on July 2nd, 2026. At this time, neither the complainant or Crystal Brow are present. Bill, before we get underway, as council just advised, we have two options. We could extend again. We have confirmation that both parties received the notices, and the notices clearly stated that we may continue the hearing or continue to hold the hearing in their, even in their absence. And so they were duly notified now, and that's confirmed by the service and the certified mail. And we can continue to proceed and have the hearing based on the evidence we have present and the testimony of any of the officers and sheriffs who are here, or we could continue. I think that's primarily the two options we have. What are your thoughts on that? Any preference on proceeding or not?
I would just officially want to announce that the Erving Chief of Police is present, and that the Sheriff's Department, both officers from the Sheriff's Department are present for this hearing and have been present for the first hearing as well. I don't see any reason to continue with the hearing. I would be more apt to dismiss the hearing as and unless it comes about that there's another incident and that people take it seriously and want to attend. Well, we can go, I suppose, go legally after both parties and up the ante and take it to the next level. But I don't know what that's going to gain us as a board. So
Yeah, I agree on the latter part. I think my preference would be to proceed and review the complaint with and hear any testimony from
okay.
the sheriffs and from the chief. We have the documents in front of us, so we have statements, and then we can make a determination based on what we hear, potentially that we dismiss it or otherwise. And obviously the parties aren't here to speak for either side, so we will work from what we have for evidence and reports, and
Okay.
if that works for you.
Sure.
Okay. All right,
So,
so
Mr. Chair, I would proceed with the hearing process and swear in any witnesses who are going to testify tonight.
great. All right, where do I have that right here? Is that in that? Just make sure I
I
have
don't
it
have it
handy.
on hand here if you need it.
Where is that in here handy, or should I just go from this
Just
one?
go for that.
Yeah,
Just,
okay.
You can start with the
All right.
star because you already read the
Read
first
the
portion.
opening. Yep. Okay. So, for everyone's knowledge, this hearing will be conducted in 5 phases. First, we'll hear from the town animal control officer as to the basis of the alleged violation. Second, we'll hear from the dog's owner, if they're present at that time. The owner may present a response to the ACO's report and may ask questions of the ACO. Third, we will entertain testimony from any witnesses with respect to the alleged violation. Fourth, the board will have an opportunity to ask questions with respect to the alleged violations. And finally, fifth, the board will then deliberate and consider whether to continue the hearing or render a decision. All testimony and questions should be addressed to the chair. All testimony at this hearing will be under oath, under pains and penalties of perjury. Would anyone who plans to testify at this hearing please raise your right hand and stand if able? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? For each one of you, would you please would you come up here near the mics and then state your name and address for the record when you're recognized for testimony, please? So I'm going to ask first for the animal control officer to come forward and present the complaint concerning the alleged violations, please.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Dragon. I'm the lead animal control officer for the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Disclaimer for the board, our agency assumed animal control services July 1st of this year. We were not your ACO at the time of this incident. We were requested by the police chief and the town administrator to review this incident to ensure that it should come before this board under this matter. The basis of this complaint stems from May 5th, 2026, when a canine who is identified belonging to Brow exited a second-story window of their residence and attacked a smaller canine that was being walked by Rockwood. At the time of the incident, there were no reported injuries to the canine or the victim canine or Rockwood, the handler of the victim canine. At the time of the incident, neither canine was licensed in the town of Erving as required by state law, and also in requirement to Erving town by law, neither canine was restrained by a physical restraint. Based off of the supporting evidence, including collaboration from the dog owner, the dog had exited the second story window. It was our recommendation that we do move forward as with a hearing here so that the board could review everything and determine if there should be any orders placed against this dog and the dog owner. Since the incident, it is my understanding that both canines have been licensed in the Commonwealth, as well as a second dog that also belongs to Brow.
Okay, and then per your findings, the neither the dog or evidence thereof was presented that there were injuries or seen by a vet or any of that sort?
So upon our review of the Erving Police Report, and I'll definitely let the Erving Police Department speak more as to their process, the Rockwood, who was the owner-keeper of the small Chihuahua-type dog that was attacked, declined to allow the officer to view her dog at that point in time. I believe the report cited that she didn't want to traumatize the dog more. She declined that her dog was injured, citing it was uninjured. She also did not report any injuries to herself. There was no mention in the report whether she was inquired whether she was injured or not. However, about 72 hours later, 3 days, she did approach a Erving patrol officer and advised that her dog was injured, as well as the fact that she was also injured. However, again, as there was no viewing on the day of the incident, there's no collaboration whether that injury occurred during this incident or not.
And to the best of your knowledge, no documentation of being seen around or after the
none
event?
that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Again, we didn't cover this particular incident, so if there's any additional follow-up by North Quabbin or anything at that point in time, I'm not purview to that.
Okay. Any other questions
I have no
for
questions.
Sheriff? Okay, thank you, Sheriff Dragon.
Very welcome.
I don't see either the owner or the complainant present, so I would ask the chief of police to come up. Chief Holst.
Good evening, Chairman. Selectman Glenberry.
Can you state your name for the record?
Chief Holst of the Erving Police Department, 71 French King Highway.
Thank you. So we heard the review of the case that you had requested from our now ACO service from the Sheriff's Department. Anything you can add to the earlier events from the day of the complaint, the alleged incident, and any other information that is pertinent?
I would like to just add that at no point have we received any documentation from a vet or a doctor that would indicate any injuries to Mrs. Rockwood's dog or her. She has alleged some injuries to her as well, but nothing has been submitted to us to state otherwise.
Nor has any officer of the department been
We have not viewed the dog.
viewed
Correct.
the dog or seen any said injuries.
Correct, sir.
Did I hear Sheriff Dragon correctly that the owner of the alleged pit bull that allegedly attacked the Chihuahua had confirmed that it did jump out a window
That's what we have been told.
by the owner?
The officer that responded to the call, which one of them is here, could maybe speak to that, but the report does indicate that we made contact with the owner of the aggressive dog, and she indicated that she has since closed the window that the dog leaped out of. So I would indicate that based on the written statement from Sergeant Pecos confirming that that dog did in fact jump out of a second-story window.
Okay.
Sergeant Pecos also noted in his report that when he went to go knock on the door, he took some use of force precautions just because of the nature of the call. And when he knocked on the door, the dog did come at him aggressively, and the owner had to, kind of quickly exit and shut the door behind him to keep the dog from coming out and potentially attacking.
Understood. Been no known incidents or altercations or issues with the Browse dog since this allegation, or with the department or interactions?
Not that has been reported to us, Chairman. When we did respond, or when the officers did respond the first time, she made the allegations that this has happened in the past, previous to this incident. This was now the second incident. Never reported to us. We were not aware of that, and we have no documentation to support that.
She being the complainant?
Correct. Rockwood.
Thank you.
I'm not saying that it did not happen either.
Of course.
I'm
No,
clear
it's
there.
evidence
We
you
just
have.
don't have anything
Sure.
other than her statement that it did.
And both dogs have been licensed, and everyone is up to date and legal from that standpoint at this time.
From my understanding, yes.
Bill, any questions for Chief or for one of the responding
have we
officers?
had any additional reports from the owners of the property?
The owners of the
Regarding-
property, I don't believe, have been involved in this at all,
Okay.
that I'm aware of, sir.
No complaints made to them, or?
I
By
don't
them.
know if the owners of the property have been made aware of the situation
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
I don't know.
But they have not. You have not spoken with the owners of the property, the apartment building, and they have not reached out to you.
Right. Okay. I have no further questions.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Thank you, Chief. Relative to this matter? Present. None appearing. Any other questions you have, Bill, based on the evidence or for any of the officers or sheriff present?
I guess my only observation is that I believe there's enough evidence to indicate that that the dog that jumped out the window presents a danger, and the fact that the owner, one jumped out of a window to go at another animal that was unsecured and unleashed as well as itself, but was within its own apartment, and that the owner of that dog had to close the door, as noted by the chief of police, in the presence of the officer who responded to the call because of its aggressiveness. So that's a concern for me, and I don't see, unless it's absolutely secured at all times, even within its own residence, it appears to have the potential to be a danger to the public. That's my concern.
I would share your concern. Generally, my assessment is that most of it is circumstantial, and there was no incidents prior or post this that we're aware of,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no evidence beyond the complainant's statements of anything beyond the dog jumping out the window. I understand the officer was a report, and the dog seemed to be aggressive at the door, but there was no altercation with the officer. The party restrained the dog, or kept the dog in the house, and I don't personally think that's enough to say one way or another by on its own. Sheriff Kramus, would you come up, please? I just have a question or two for him. Thank you, sir. State your name and address for the record, please.
Deputy Kramus, Franklin County Sheriff's Office, 71 French King Highway. Erving,
Thank
Mass.
you. So, were you present at the when this complaint was first reported, or only in the follow-up?
I was there during the initial call when me and Sergeant Pecos first arrived on to the address to take a complaint from Mrs. Rockwood. We showed up. She was out there, in pretty good distress over the incident. We took the report from her about the dog jumping out of the second-story window, attacked the smaller dog, and then when we asked Mrs. Rockwood to or at least take a look at the dog for injuries, she wouldn't. She refused that request and said that the dog was too scared and hiding underneath the bed. And same thing that Chief Hull said is when we knocked on Mrs. Brow's door, the dog did come barreling down the stairs, and she had to kind of squeeze out of the door in order to not let the dog out, and while the dog was barking. So that's how initially it started. And then we talked to Ms. Brow. She also alluded that this has not been the first incident. So they both have said that there's been multiple incidents, but weren't reported, didn't want to report the first one just because it might have been like just a random occurrence rather than a pattern. And that's why the second incident was reported.
Okay. And then, so Brow did confirm at least the one time when you were there that the dog did jump out the window,
Yes.
and that it may have occurred other times, but we've had no other actual formal complaints or calls about it.
Correct.
The if I'm following the report, the dog was quarantined. Is that correct?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay.
That was done by the Board of Health's Inspector of Animals.
Okay. Do we?
Question, so was, when the dog was quarantined, was it removed from the property?
No.
It
It was a
quarantined
10-day
in-house.
in-home quarantine. Correct.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Correct.
Well, that answers my follow-up question.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. That was going to be part of my question. Was it an off-site quarantine or not? And I know the animal inspector is not present today.
Correct.
Do we know if she inspected in person with the animal or anything of that sort? I don't know who had any contact with her, who's present. If you know anything, if you don't, that's fine.
I spoke with her over the phone, and just that she was getting ready to make contact
Okay.
with Miss Brow and informing her of the quarantine. But as far as I'm aware, that's all I've had for contact with her.
Okay.
That's correct.
Any follow-ups for Sheriff Kremis?
Officer, were you with Sergeant Pecos when he approached the dog and the dog at the door?
I was at the bottom of the stairs. It kind of goes up a set of stairs to first door, and then there's a door on the left that goes up the stairs. I was standing back on the lawn or in the walkway,
Okay.
watching the incident occur.
So did you see the dog being aggressive?
I didn't see the dog. You could just hear the dog, just because it was behind a door.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Chief, do you have any more information on the animal inspector? If not, then I'm good.
I do not, Chairman, and I have not spoken with the animal inspector.
You have not?
Either.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Do you know anything post that conversation with Sheriff Kremis? Did you have any contact or know anything of what occurred with the animal inspector?
Yes.
Directly?
So it is my understanding, because the animal inspector, her name is Kathleen Bjork, she not only served the quarantine notice, she also lifted 10 days later, but she had follow-up with both Ms. Rockwood and Ms. Brow. She reminded both of them about the requirements to be licensed. And to the report, both have come in to be licensed since then. I do understand that there were several follow-ups that at least Ms. Rockwood made to Ms. Burke about the condition of her dog, speaking about the potential puncture wounds or the injury the dog sustained allegedly. And I know that Ms. Burke repeatedly encouraged her to seek vet attention for the dog. And to this day, I'm not sure if that has occurred.
To our knowledge, if it did, we didn't receive any records and
Correct.
don't have any documentation thereof. And your information, just to be clear for the record, is directly from Ms. Burke, or is it
Directly
through?
from Ms. Burke.
Okay.
Yep. I also know that as part of her work, she also followed up with both the reported vet for Ms. Rockwood's animal, as well as it wasn't a vet, it was a clinic of sorts that was identified by Ms. Brow as the source of the vaccinations that would have been done. So I know she spent time researching both of those scenarios and reporting back to both parties so that they would have the right information to be in compliance with the vaccination requirements.
To your knowledge, Ms. Burke didn't provide any context to you about concerns with any of those interactions with serving or
No.
contact with Brow or with the clinics or anything relative to that
To
dog?
my knowledge, in none of the cases did she actually see the animals in person.
Okay.
that the notice was served at the door, and all the additional communication was either by phone or message, but not where she was able to visibly see the animals.
And if I followed what you said, was she furnishing information on where they could become compliant, or did she contact the locations after the fact to confirm
So in
compliance?
in one scenario, my understanding is, this is Miss Rockwood, there was a vet identified. So she followed up because we had no records of this dog residing in town. Followed up to verify that the dog was indeed vaccinated, they're just not licensed. The other party, again, were not aware the dog resided in town, but this was a clinic. There was from my recollection, a vague reference to being vaccinated, and when she researched it, the particular clinic that was noted provides other vaccination services, but not rabies vaccinations. And so she communicated back that if that's where you believe your dog was vaccinated, that's not a service that they offer. So it needs to be done at one of these other clinics, or you would seek a veterinary care. And so she did that follow-up.
Okay. And based on the dates of the dog license and the rabies here, it looks like they were probably vaccinated for licensing.
Right.
Okay.
So yes, in your file you have a record from the town clerk's office that the dogs are not licensed, and they can't be licensed without rabies vaccination.
Right. Based on the June 18th, 27 expiration, it looks like it was something that occurred in time to get the license, potentially. Unless they had 3-year ones, but I don't know.
Right.
Any other questions you have?
I have no further question.
I mean, my take on this is that while there's a complaint, we don't have the complainant here, we don't have the defendant here, the owner, Brow. The evidence of, there's no evidence other than, the complainant of any injuries from said incident. There's no other documented incidents that have occurred prior or post. And while the dog seemed, potentially aggressive during the when the officers had gone to Brow's residence and the dog was present, they didn't actually interact with the dog. So, I mean, for me, it's not sufficient to make any kind of determination. And they have since become compliant with all the requirements. I don't see sufficient evidence to do anything other than dismiss at this point.
I would like to ask counsel if there's, I know there's, once the Browse dog is outside of the apartment, that it's required to be leashed and restrained. Is there any legal requirement that if the door is open, that the dog within its own apartment has to be leashed or in control?
Through the chair, if the dog is within the residence, I'm not aware of a requirement. The leash requirement is when they're outside.
Okay.
Is the leash requirement outside only in public property, or is it private property
I believe it's public property.
only? Okay. I mean, I feel like if there's any future issue or incident relative to this dog, we would want to instruct the ACO and department to let us know immediately and, advise if a further hearing and potential action needs to be taken, given that wouldn't be the first time that there's allegations, but without anything more substantial, I don't feel there's sufficient here to take any action. I don't know where you're at.
So I guess my second question would be, are we able to give notice to Brow that any further any further issues or problems with the dog may result in its removal.
Through the chair, so if the board opts to take no action or to dismiss the complaint tonight, that should certainly be communicated to the owner. There's nothing in the way of that notice reminding the owner of the requirements for owning the dog and the town's animal control bylaws, and a notation that if there's a future incident could result in an additional hearing, which is true. There's no reason you can't remind the owner of those facts in this notice.
Well, I think we should remind the owner in the strongest language possible of the possible outcomes to any further actions that would transpire, that would require law enforcement, the sheriff's department, and injury to any other animals would result in. I just don't think that any or of the individuals involved in the fact that neither have showed up should be allowed to walk away thinking that in future processes all they have to do is not show up.
I see what you're saying. Sheriff Dragon?
As you've not entered your deliberation phase yet, I'd like to put forward a recommendation from our agency. Based on this incident, a concern of our agency is the fact that the dog became heightened enough to exit a second-story window to attack this dog. Thankfully, there were no injuries. A recommendation from us for the board to consider would be nuisance finding, with the requirement that the owners take such action to prevent the dog from being able to breach the enclosure of the residence again, and to be restrained physically when outside the residence, which they should already be doing. However, by putting in an order, a violation of that would then allow the town as well as our agency to move forward with a violation of a dog notice or dog hearing finding. Again, I wish the victim and or dog owner both had been here so you could fully hear their side of the story. But that would be the recommendation coming from our department.
And how would the latter portion of the restraining of the dog differ from the current regulation and leash law?
So currently how it would work is that right now they could be issued a citation for violation of leash law. There was a citation issued. It was dismissed by this board due to the procedural complications. A violation of a order under Chapter 140, Section 157 could result in the seizure of the dog, which the owner would then have to present before this board a petition within 7 days, then for the board to review everything and then determine whether the dog would be returned to them or not. It also allows for stiffer violations, and regardless of whatever order, if any, is put forward by this board tonight, the owner does still have the opportunity within 10 days to appeal that to the clerk magistrate's office at Orange District Court for it to have them review this and see if it's upheld or not.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Sheriff?
I have none. I find that quite acceptable.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Mr. Chairman, I just, as we mentioned previously, the board's options are, no action or dismissal of the complaint, finding that the dog is a nuisance dog under the statute, and finding that the dog is a dangerous dog under the statute. Just relevant to the recommendation from the animal control officer, I just wanted to read to you the nuisance dog standard, just so you're clear as to whether that's something that the board could find. So this is under Chapter 140, Section 136A of the general laws. A nuisance dog is a dog that, one, by excessive barking or other disturbance, is a source of annoyance to a sick person residing in the vicinity, or two, by excessive barking causing damage or other interference, a reasonable person would find that such behavior is disruptive to one's quiet and peaceful enjoyment, or three, has threatened or attacked livestock, a domestic animal, or a person, but such threat or attack was not grossly disproportionate reaction under all the circumstances. So, summarizing it, nuisance dog looks at barking or causing disturbance to those living nearby, but also a threatened or attack of a domestic animal or person or livestock is another factor as to whether the dog is a nuisance dog.
We definitely don't have evidence of the first two of a barking nuisance. Would you read the third section one more time for me?
Sure. A dog that has threatened or attacked livestock, a domestic animal, or a person, but such threat or attack was not grossly disproportionate reaction under all the circumstances. An attack is defined as aggressive physical contact initiated by an animal.
Which is alleged, but there's no evidence.
Well, I think jumping out of a second floor window is some evidence of that's not normal.
I mean, if you get a squirrel outside the window with the right retriever, the right hound, I mean, they're going to go out the window if it's easy. So I don't know. I hear you, but I don't think there's no evidence of a physical attack, right? Breaching a premises isn't livestock, domestic, or persons. And I'm just trying to weigh the evidence. I don't take it lightly if it is a dog that could be dangerous. We don't want to, allow something to occur. And I have no interest in, having a situation occur. I also just, if we're talking, from what I understand, a pit bull mix versus a small Chihuahua does not sound like something where if there was an altercation that there wouldn't have been significant injury if it was of a aggressive nature for the smaller dog, given the offset between the two. It just doesn't, for me, it seems like it would have been very significant if there was really an aggressive incident between two dogs of that differing size. What two dogs of the same size can do to each other very quickly. So, not that it didn't occur, but without any evidence of any from a vet, and it sounds like Ms. Burke did speak with the owner of the Chihuahua, Rockwood's vet, without any evidence of any vet visit, injuries, pictures, assessment by an officer. It's hard for me to see sufficient evidence that the dog did cause harm or, under that definition.
I'll just note it's attacked as one portion of it. It's also threatened as
I
another
was
portion of it.
just going to say that.
The threatened side of it.
There is a threat.
Is there? I'm not saying there is or isn't. I don't know. I would say, is it not another possibility that we could have the dog assessed if we were concerned that there was sufficient frisk by a independent third party?
You could make that request. I don't know that you'd have authority to compel it, outside of an order. So a nuisance dog finding where you can draft an order and issue that to the owner, which they then have the right to appeal, can have any number of conditions in terms of what the board, wants to see
Okay.
for continued ownership of the dog.
Got it. Chief, would you come up? Do you know if we have any knowledge of how long that dog has resided in town, given it was not licensed prior?
I have none. I could always, go back, look at logs, see if we've dealt with the family or had, any encounters in our log with them that would maybe give us a time frame of when we dealt with them, but I do not know how long they've lived there.
But to the best of your knowledge, we don't have anything logged relative to the dog directly.
No.
It would just be to the party, the owning party's
sir.
residence, or
Yes, sir.
which still doesn't tell us. All right, thank you, sir. I'm just trying to establish, is there there's no pattern, right? So it's really hard without any kind of physical evidence. It's very circumstantial right now to me on whether there is or isn't an issue.
Mr. Chairman, Town Administrator had his hand up.
It's anecdotal, but when Miss Brow came into town hall over a month ago to appeal the ticket, there was a conversation that occurred, and it's my recollection that they indicated that the dog was temporarily staying in town, and I recall December being the month that they gave that the dog arrived. And so I clarified that the bylaw requires a dog to be registered after a certain number of days that's been residing in town. But I know we had that conversation at length in town hall.
Temporary as in it's not staying? Or who knows?
The dog was registered 6 moments later, so I don't know.
I mean, we have 30 days, so it's past 30 days, but...
And that's
what's
what I pointed
temporary?
out to the parties.
I in no way want to pass a problem on somewhere else without dealing with it if there is one, to be clear. But on the other hand, if the dog is not here anymore, then I think the concerns of a future issue based on evidence we don't know about.
It's my understanding,
Long-term.
understand that the dog is still here.
Long term.
Yeah.
Long term. Not today, but long
Okay.
term.
Council, what is that chapter in section 140, what?
Chapter 140, Section 136A. That's the definitional section of the animal control statute.
That has the nuisance definition in it.
Correct.
Well, Bill, I mean, let's
So-
come to some decision here. I don't. Go ahead.
I was going to make a motion that under section 140, under 140 section 136A, that the dog deemed, that the dog in question, it's jumping out the window is constitutes a to me, evidence of a threat under the Nuisance Dog Act. And that's it.
With that, it's more than just deciding that, right? We'd have to determine any orders there relative thereto if that's what we decide, rather than just designating it.
Yeah. Through the chair, designating the dog a nuisance dog is one step, and that would be in an order that is prepared for the chair's signature following the hearing. But that usually comes with some conditions upon continued ownership. That can be any number of things. The animal control officer mentioned, a requirement in the order that the dog, be restrained and prohibited from leaving the premises on its own, and that any time outside the premises that it be restrained with a leash. And to the animal control officer's point, that does give his office greater enforcement ability if there is a future incident compared to just the baseline under the bylaws and the statute. Having an order in place does give him greater ability to take action.
And if I'm recalling what he relayed, such as seizing and bringing a complaint to the board that has to be addressed in short order.
Correct. So a violation of an order of the board under this statute is in itself a separate offense, and that would allow the animal control officer to detain the dog temporarily.
Okay. And without that, under the normal circumstance, would not be able to?
It wouldn't be a
or-
violation of an order. He'd have to find a violation of the bylaw, an egregious violation of the bylaw, or of the statute 140, 157.
Got it. And so that would just expand it to the ability to leave the premises under its own volition or being unrestrained in public. Come on up, Chief.
Support.
Or whichever. Come on up. Sheriff Dragon.
I just want to point out, you made a comment about passing the problem on if the dog does leave town. If the board does so choose to order this dog, either nuisance or dangerous, that order is valid throughout the Commonwealth, regardless of where it goes. So if they were to move hypothetically from here to Cambridge or wherever, they would have to make notification to Cambridge that such orders were against their dog, which would then put that dog on that agency's radar to hopefully prevent any future issues.
So those orders follow that dog
That is
regardless
correct.
of
The orders are valid.
town or
throughout the
municipality
Commonwealth.
it's under. Okay. But the onus is under the owner to notify the new resident.
And it would fall to our agency or the town of Erving if we became aware that the dog was no longer in town and had moved to another location,
Okay.
to make sure that that information was passed along.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So, Bill, you had made a motion to find that it was a nuisance under 140, 136A,
Yes.
and assuming there are orders that you wanted to put with that, just to be clear,
I would adopt the orders of the Sheriff's Department.
recommended, okay. Upon clarifying what that does and the scope change in terms of what it does and doesn't empower the ACO and Sheriff's Office to do, should there be a future incident against those two stipulations around maintaining it in the home and under control in public, under leash control, not voice control. Be clear about that. I would second your motion. Any other discussion?
None.
Okay. Do we have necessary language? Should we get it? Do we have a sample, or just based on what we said sufficient to?
This is sufficient, and working with the town administrator,
Draft
we can
an order.
prepare an order.
Okay.
And I would say friendly amendment to that motion would be to authorize the chair to sign the order once prepared.
I make a motion that the chair that we authorize the chair of the select board to sign the conditions of orders.
I'll second that. All those in favor of the nuisance dog determination and orders,
Second.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor of having the chair sign said order, say aye.
Aye.
All right. At this point then, we've made our decision and don't see any reason to continue this hearing any further.
Nope.
So we will issue those conditions and order and finding as soon as we have them drafted. And I'll declare this hearing closed at 8:14 p.m.
You need a
Need a motion? Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. I believe that concludes our business for this evening. With that, make a motion to adjourn the select board meeting at 8:14.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.